People, Deluded, I'm back again. Thank you very much for tuning in, and it's been a while since I've done that. It's been a while since I've called myself YouTube's N'Golo Kante as well, but obviously it's my day off, rare day off and whatnot. Like, I've been enjoying the weather. It's rained, it's been sunny, but I've enjoyed it, man. I mean, I'm sure you lot would enjoy your days off, but I asked you lot for videos. I want to take advantage of today. I asked you lot for video ideas and whatnot, and one of you said review the squad with the window being shut in Arsenal's case, and I more or less have, but I guess I haven't really looked in depth at our squad and whatnot, and I thought, why not? He's got a point. I can't remember your username at this moment in time, but shout out to you, you know who you are. So, well, I'm not going to turn the laptop around, but I'm on arsenal.com. I've clicked on the first team squad, you know, where it shows everybody's pretty little picture in the new kit and that. So let's go through it. Keepers were okay. I mean, potentially an area we look at over the next 12 months, just based on the links of, can't remember my man's name, but didn't we try go out there and get a German keeper? We've been linked with a Spanish keeper. We were linked with a couple of goalkeepers, so maybe that's an area. Potentially, I know he's injured at the moment, but Arthur Okonkwo, who had a decent season last year in goal for Arsenal's reserves and made so much progress, you obviously saw him go to Dubai, and that potentially steps up into the first team and takes that third choice keeping spot. I'm not saying he'll play. Martinez, obviously, what you would imagine, Carling Cup, depending on who we're playing in the FA Cup, he'll get them games. Europa League, God forbid if Leno gets injured, he steps in. But Europa League and cup competitions, that's Martinez's thing. You've got Leno, the first choice keeper, with all the ball playing and all the philosophy stuff Emery wants. Matt Macy, I must be honest, I'm surprised he's still here. No disrespect to him, and I'm not saying saying it for anything on him, because he's at Arsenal. He's probably got a decent deal. He's at a top 6 club. He's training with the stars, and he's an Arsenal player. Imagine telling that to Gelly and the Rave and whatnot, people. So he's living. But on a serious note, in terms of first team football and advancing your career, can't see it getting much better at than where it is at Arsenal. We bought him from Plymouth, and it's been a job well done. He's technically played first team football for Arsenal. If he was to leave for a fee, we'd get money, and I'm sure Plymouth will work. It weren't Plymouth, it was Bristol Rovers. One of them clubs there, no disrespect, that they bought them from, will get some money from it. I say that because I'm unclear. I actually assumed his contract was up this season, people. I'm just going to assume his contract has another year to run. I don't know his contract length, but you'd think Matt Macy would be moved on, or would have to move on to make inroads, because he's 24, 25 years of age now, and time flies. I think he's a decent keeper. I think he's good enough to go out there and play senior football and cut his throat. He's had some testing loan periods and whatnot, but obviously people are comfortable. He's in London. He's probably first class, world class facilities like Arsenal. He's probably got a lot of friends, not just the players, but the people behind the ground, behind the scenes and whatnot. Because you got to think, this is like a normal job, people. Yes, they're playing football. Yes, they're earning a lot of money. Yes, we would die to be in their positions. But it's a job. If you're comfortable in a job, obviously, that's why a lot of people, not really my generation, because you can't now, but a lot of people stay at jobs for 20, 30 years because they're comfortable, because they know everybody and whatnot. And he's a goalkeeper. He might even be comfortable just being third choice, because I'm not saying he's not ambitious, but not everyone wants to elevate themselves and do all of these sort of things. Some people, it's just a job. And will he, again, I don't think he's on the maddest of wages, but just to throw an argument out there, would he get better wages elsewhere? I don't know, people. So in goal, we're good, and I've spent a lot of time in goal. Defence, looking at it, looks alright, man. I'm seeing my guy Callum Chambers. I think when needed, he can step in. Question marks over whether he's first choice quality centre-half material or could develop into that. But I personally feel when given a chance, he's held his own, and he's played decent in big games. Of course, he's had some terrible games like everybody, people, but I think he's competent to step in, and clearly Emery sees him as that, because he obviously started against Newcastle. Luiz and Socrates is probably going to be our first half pairing. Potentially Holding throws that debate in air when he comes back, but you'd imagine Chambers would probably be fourth choice, and he wants to be here. And obviously I want all my players to want to be first choice, and I hope he develops to become better than the centre-half options, because it'd be better for us, people. But some players just need to be reliable backup options. Not everybody needs to be a starter and things. It's a squad. 38 Premier League games alone. Injuries, suspensions, fatigue, but loss of form, all of these things happen in the season. So you're going to need to mix and match, because we've got 38 games in the Prem. Yes, well, 36 because we play 2 now. I don't know how much we play technically in the group stages of the Europa League, and technically if you advance to the latter stages of the Carling Cup, Cat Yarabel Cup, I keep calling it Carling, and the FA Cup. There's a lot of games to be played. Obviously, that's assuming we still go to the final and that, which on paper, I know it's probably started, but the Premier League sides all have a chance of. So there's a lot of games, and we need reliable man. So for me, I'm not gonna lie, the fact that the centre halves that would be playing the primarily playing for me, people would be on first and foremost David Luiz, because he's just come to the club. Socrates, you lot know I'm a big fan of Rob Holding. I think he's got a lot of development to do. I don't think he's the finished article, but they would be my three centre halves to play. Chambers was obviously, like I said, I've just explained him. I can't lie, if I was Emery, potentially Mavropanos, I would potentially look to loan him out. I do believe he's good enough to get chances here, but I've just said a lot of centre halves and whatnot, and he's had injuries. I would obviously, if I just said 4 centre halves, I suppose a fifth can play. But I want him to play, people. I think he's been starved of football. He's been robbed of football. He's going to stay at the club because obviously he's not going to be fit, and there'll be no point a club signing him right now in August and he's aiming for an October return. You're not going to have him for a significant amount of months. So with that being said, I'd keep Mavropanos and he'll be used as an option. First and foremost, make sure his rehabilitation stage is spot on and he's fit and all of them things. And if he can get some games, give him some games. Potentially, I'd be looking to loan him out in Germany because, like I said, I think he's been starved of football. We don't really know his base level. We've had some decent games from him. We've had some moments which show his inexperience. So we'll have to see, man. Apologies, people. I really have to take this. Hello? I'm at home. Alright, cool. Yeah, just hurry up, mate. Alright, Seth. Yeah. Apologies, people. Really apologies for that, man. Really apologies. Unprofessional of me. But moving on. We're right at centre half. With Saliba to come next season and whatnot, that's good. There's talk of Upamecano in January. I'd love to see it. But at least from August to now, we've got to probably be looking at getting Socrates and David Luiz understanding each other, because that's likely to be our first choice centre half pairing. So we've got to look at them, making sure they understand each other's game and whatnot. I think a big plus point is because of Luiz, because Luiz is a ball playing centre half. He can play on the left hand side. I think Socrates struggles a lot when he plays on the left hand side of the centre backs, because he can't really. He's a better passer and a better player than given credit for, but he's not the most expansive. He's a defend first sort of guy. Baked beans, does what it says on the tin, and I like him for that. But you can see how he's kind of unable to have his natural game, so that gives him that. Personally, I would like to see Holding and Luiz as well, 2 ball-playing centre-halves. I'm a big fan of Holding. I think he's going to have some poor games, and I think he's going to have some good games. But I would like to see them 2 playing together. Experience and relative youth in Holding, both ball players and whatnot. It's likely to be Luiz and Socrates, like I said, but they'd be it. Obviously, Mustafi, days are numbered, hopefully. In an ideal world, Mustafi is gone come September the 2nd, I believe. He's not been named in the match day squads. And even Chambers playing one game and being on the bench another is Emery telling you, yo, listen, not going to disrespect you, can train and whatnot, but you need to go because you're not in my plans in any capacity. It's like El Nene. Emery's only going to use him if he's forced, people, really and truly. So the less said about Mustafi, the better. Left back, I think we're alright. We've got to wait a while until October for Kieran Tierney to come back, but when he comes back, he's cool. Bellerin the same. Obviously, Holding is injured. Potentially, we could actually look at another left back area, because I would love to see that Kolasinac turns into a. Because if Kolasinac can improve his defensive aspects and marry it with his decent attackingness, we've got a decent left back there and someone to fight Tierney to play, and that will bring the best out in both players. I believe Kieran Tierney would be number 1 and should be number 1, but you could have reliable backup and whatnot. I think Kolasinac is a good player, and I've seen him play well defensively, but too often they're not. It's a bit mad. And I know João Lopez, and obviously when you come from Barcelona and that, people are going to gas it. I can't speak for everyone, but you lot know I'm out there watching under 18s games. He's not ready. He's not ready for it anytime soon. I'd love to see in 18 months he'll be ready, but he's probably not. I want to keep the pathway open, potentially, for him to do that. But left back could be an area we look at, with Monreal obviously getting old, and Kieran Tierney does his thing, and I suppose Maitland-Niles can be shoehorned there at a push. Oh my gosh. Yo. I'm coming. Give me 2 secs. Don't ruin the vids, man. Apologies, people, but I'm meeting him. He's giving me something. I really need to get that. So yeah, left back, we potentially might need to look at that area, people. It sounds ironic because we've just signed a left back, and that is truly Arsenal to sign a left back. I need another player in a certain position. But yeah, man, Kolasinac, I suppose, is going to be a backup, and it's down to him unless he improves to accept being backup or want to move on. He's on a decent contract, so why not? So I must admit, people, if I look at our squad, Bellerin's injured at the moment, Maitland-Niles is shoehorned there, but I must admit, potentially, if one can come from the academy, potentially within the next 18 months, if we can get a right back in next summer to compete with Bellerin or to avoid these things if Bellerin's injured, potentially I believe I'm moving on to midfield now, but a creative midfielder, because on paper Dani Ceballos is going back to Madrid. Ozil divides opinion and is of the age where we can't be talking about building teams around him. Mkhitaryan, lull, people. Anyways, Joe Willock is decent, but it's a big burden for him to fill in. Emil could do that, I believe, long term. The 8 position and 10 position, similar to Ramsey, is Emil Smith-Rowe's in the future, but he's still developing. I do think we've got to look at that modern day. We can find someone on that's poetry in motion, but that modern day aggressive covering ground sort of thing in midfield, then I think we're set, man. I think if we can convince Ceballos to stay at this club, it would be good, but right now he's returning back. So at least for this season, we're well stocked in midfield. I must admit, I would have loved another box-to-box midfielder. Not necessarily defensive mid, but you know when it's a box-to-box midfielder, people, but they're switched on defensively. I believe we're missing that from our squad, in that we've got Torreira, but who could play with Torreira if we need to shut out games? Or if Torreira's not there, who can really do that role, people? Do you get it? That's really something missing from our side. So that would be something I'd be on. But we're well stocked in midfield. With obviously Xhaka, Guendouzi, Joe Willock's been getting games. Maitland-Niles is a right back, but I'm going to do him the courtesy of including him in the central midfield role. You've got Torreira, you've got Ozil, you've got Mkhitaryan, you've got Ceballos. Now, admittedly, people, Mkhitaryan would only be used in the squad with me, and he'd be free to leave this summer with the window still open. El Nene the same. The only ones I'll be really seriously moving forward with for this season would be Torreira, Ceballos, Guendouzi, because I'm a big fan of his. My young guy Joe Willock doing his thing. Potentially Mesut Ozil here and there. I wouldn't move forward with Mkhitaryan. If I haven't said Dani Ceballos, cool. Xhaka would have to play again. He wouldn't play as frequently under me, but I'm not the manager. And Emil Smith-Rowe, I'd love to get him game time and stuff, but I do think potentially it could be worth going out on loan. Really, when I watched the under-23s game that he played well against Brighton, people, I do think he's good enough to cut his teeth here. But I was thinking, would it be good for him to go somewhere where he's hand on heart, gonna play week in, week out, similar to Nelson, come back here next season and we roll? It could be, because he was robbed of football last season when it came to first team, obviously with the injuries and whatnot. So I think we're stocked. We're good. We're stocked in midfield. We've got to realise that Joe Willock and Guendouzi in particular are still developing. Torreira is still a young midfielder himself, and was the first time he played 50-odd games for Arsenal last season. I would like to see Maitland-Niles in this position as well. Mesut Ozil is Mesut Ozil, and I've not said El Nene because El Nene wouldn't be featuring in the team beyond being kept for the squad in case something mad happens, people. Up front, we've got some tasty options, or attacking options. Obviously, you can count Reece Nelson into the midfielders. I forgot to mention him. Do I need to really mention him? With Iwobi leaving the left-hand side, there's a vacancy to be rotated in and out for that position, which I believe he can do. Potentially, I believe you can get away with this season at least. If something happens and there's injuries, he could potentially play that 10 role that Joe Willock's occupied, or Ceballos at times. There's no reason why Nelson can't play in the hole, people. Like, people forget about this. Even when you see him playing, he does his thing on the flanks, but Nelson's game, he's changed it slightly for me anyway, seeing him come through the academy, because he still is a very strong carrier of a ball and a dribbler, but he's looking to come inside and play these smart little passes and link up in tight spaces, and he's good on the counter-attack. He's still developing, like you've seen in the last 2 games he's playing, Joe Willock himself. But Nelson, I'm a big fan of Nelson, and I'm not here to say he can be the next this, that and the other. I just believe he's a player that can be an Arsenal player and someone that the fans can take to, and a reliable, competent first team option for the team. Anything he does past that is down to how good Nelson wants to be. Of course I want to be having this debate. No, Nelson's better than Jadon Sancho. He's better than Nelson. No, it's Callum Hudson-Odoi. I'd love to see 3 brothers doing their thing and whatnot, and I believe England can have some tasty options if Callum gets over his injury, if Nelson keeps developing, and Jadon Sancho's just sick, people. I've really enjoyed watching his development personally, and you're seeing what he's doing, what he scored at the week. That's why he got a goal and assist at the weekend for Dortmund, and he's the youngest player, I believe. I can't remember the stat, but he got some young stat about scoring goals, a young player stat in regards to British teenagers. Can't remember the exact one, people. So I think our squad is good, man. Obviously, if I had to cherry pick, I'd say there's not a third choice striker in case something happens to Aubameyang and Lacazette, to which I would be Tyrese John-Jules from now till January will be getting some sort of minutes and some capacity from me. If I can't give him optimal minutes, then potentially we look at a loan in January. I believe Saka can get chance. Obviously, I haven't mentioned Saka and Martinelli because they're actually not included on the first team page on Arsenal, but they would get game time for me. Martinelli's just moved to the club, and I know he made his debut against Newcastle. He was on the bench in the last game. He's had a good pre-season, but let's just let him develop and see where we can take it with now. Let's not place unnecessary weight on his shoulders because he's still developing probably to the country, let alone playing for Arsenal and things. So he's going to have good moments and bad moments. And you've seen Saka travelling with the squad. I'll be giving Saka a chance. I think he's good enough to play in the left back, to play in the left wing position, or be a sub on the bench in the Prem. I think at this level, what you got to look for as well, it doesn't matter how good a player is, a young player is, it's their ability to take on and retain information and follow tactics. I feel one thing that is going to serve Saka well in his career is you can evidently see if a coach tells you this and this, he's going to do this and this. He's not going to do X, Y, Z, because that's why a lot of these young players don't play. Of course, there's the occasional game your manager tells you don't do something and your youthful exuberance and randomness or whatever word it is gets you out of it. But sooner or later, these young players have to be able to listen tactically, because if you don't listen tactically and something happens on the pitch, you're out. You get it, people? So we've got to take our time with these young players, but I think we've got a good squad. Centre half, I must admit, we've got some better options, and Luiz, we have to admit with Luiz, he's probably going to have them just simply David Luiz moments in defence, but I like how he moves, man. I like how he's vocal. He seems like he's adjusted to the dressing room already. You see him organising the defence and all of these sort of things. Socrates does that, but I think generally at Arsenal we've missed that. So if we can marry Luiz's sort of stuff like that, and Socrates is the B word, people, because I think he's a real B word when it comes to defending. If we can marry them two together and get an experienced, competent partnership for a year or two, and then obviously Saliba and Holding would be the thing for me long term. Saliba, Holding, Turney, Bellerin, Leno, who's not the oldest of keepers behind there, and whatnot. We've got the youngest sort of sides in midfield options to have a side that's not the oldest, man. And with that would be good resale value. With that would be the youthful exuberance needed to build a squad and go through the trials and tribulations and one day win the league. I know Arsenal Football Club are a long way from winning the league, but a club like us, if you're not, like, the banter aside, people, United, Arsenal, Chelsea since 2004, I've got to do it to you Chelsea fans. If these clubs there are not challenging for the league title, then regardless of where these clubs are, because they're all away from winning the league, there should be question marks. The only one that shouldn't get is Spurs, because we know they don't know how to win league titles, people. I have to, man. I got Chelsea Spurs fans, I got to get you lot as well. On a serious note, Spurs should even be vexed if they don't win it, people. And Arsenal, we're a long way away. We need to focus on top four and potentially, hopefully, going one better in the Europa League and winning it. We need to focus on that and focus on learning to defend. And the many things, you lot watch Arsenal, the many things we need to focus on before we talk of league titles, people. Because right now, we've got to see this squad. They've all talked the talk. We've got to see them. There's no excuses. They've got to go out, come back in May, and they've got top four. They've got to. There's injuries. There's all these things. There's trials and tribulations. Doing is expensive. We've fallen short of the hurdle 2-3 years now. I genuinely don't know how long we've been in Europa League now. What is it, 3 years? I don't know. We've been in this. I don't even know. I can't even remember the Champions League theme tune, people, anymore. That's how mad it is. But we've got to do a lot before we get into this, and we've got some good options. Obviously, I've not mentioned him, but Pepe coming into the side. Do I really need to mention Pepe, Aubameyang and Lacazette? We've got some good options, but ultimately, it's how we perform on the worst of days is what makes the difference. Because it sounds cliche, people, but on Arsenal's day, we can beat anyone. There's 38 Premier League games alone, people. You're going to have your day about 10 of them. I'm even being generous, about 5. And that's just me in my bedroom talking about this. The Pep will probably say like 2. Because everybody wants to beat these top 6 sides. As Arsenal fans, we know everyone in that top 6, everybody's on playing us. And that pains me to say, everybody's on playing us. I'm not going to talk through the reasons, but everyone's on playing us. And we need to change these sort of things before we can talk about league titles. Because when I see these young players, I see no reason why Holding, Turney, Bellerin, Pepe, Nelson, who else? Torreira's not that old. Guendouzi, Willock, if these players develop, Maitland-Niles, Nelson, there's no reason why Saliba next season, while these young players or players with time on their side, we can't build a team that can challenge for the league. Obviously, it's almost impossible defeating City or beating City or going at City. But you have to, there's no reason why I believe in the future we shouldn't have a team that, similar to Liverpool right now, say, what, we can try fight you for it. We might come up short, but we can try fight you. That's what I want, people. I just want to be able to win the league or challenge for the league again. But top 4 in that needs to be fixed up, people. So it is what it is. I've been here long. I've actually enjoyed making this vid, people. Apologies for the phone incidences and whatnot. As you can see, it's my day off. I'm trying to make the most of this. Going to get myself some Purple Rain cocktails and that, people, eventually. But once this guy gives me what I need. But on that note, people, Deluded. I'm off to get my camera from this guy. I'm out.